Hello everyone, so we're going to be doing a coloring page in this tutorial. You're going to be using Photoshop. I'm going to learn how to start a new file, a little bit about the graphic user interface, also known as the GUI, the panels, what items are available, brush tool, eyeglass tool, paint bucket, and text tool. We kind of went over those on the basics, but we're going to, of course, actually use them to create a project this time. You're going to be creating an 8 by 10 page in Photoshop and using the brush and the fill tool. You want at least 7 different colors to fill, and you're going to save the image in the largest form. So how that works, if I help you get started, you get to create a coloring page. I opened up Photoshop. Now I'm going to go to New. They have some presets in here. All right, now they have some presets in here. The best one to choose for this project would be letter. So it's 8.5 by 11 inches. And then what I would name it is I would name it coloring page so that you can find it later, because this may take you a little bit. Resolution 300, and you're going to hit create. Now you have this nice blank white sheet. So now we want to grab a coloring page to put on it. So I'm going to go back now to Google, and I'm going to search. I had searched for this Bowser coloring page. You can look up any kind of coloring page you'd be interested in doing. If you look at these different sizes though, if I were to go to images and I hover over, these have different, they call it resolution sizes. You want ones with big numbers, and I'm going to show you the difference on why you don't want one with a small number. So this one has a small number. This is the maximum size that this can be. So if I copied and I pasted this here, I'm going to do edit paste. You see how tiny this is? Now you could try to make it bigger to work on it, but then look how bad it just looks. Kind of crunchy. It makes doing the project a lot harder than it needs to be. So I wouldn't recommend using any image that has basically a low resolution or a low number. So if we go back to all the images that we were looking for, let's look for one that has a large number that also looks cool. So here's one that's super large. This one might be fun to color. I'm looking for one that has like a good amount to do. All right, this is pretty decent here. If I click on it, I can view on the large image. You see how nice and big this one is? So I'm going to copy this. I could do it one of two ways. I could copy it, and I could do edit paste. But there is a chance that your settings in here and your color settings, for some reason, have been known to screw people up. And some of these stuff, like it turns black and white, and that's not good. So the best way to avoid having any kind of color mode screw up on you would be to, when you're looking at this coloring page, I want you to right click it and I want you to save the image. I'm going to save it. Now here it is saved. If I open up that folder of my downloads, which opened up here in a different window, I know this is a little confusing, but it's going to save you the color mode problem. So I have Photoshop open. I go to File. I go to Place Embedded. Now it asks me, what photo do you want to place in the embedded? So what I'm going to do is find the download, right? And there it is. So what's nice, and the whole reason I want you to do this, and people are still going to come up and ask me and say, hey, my settings got messed up. Why is it black and white? Why are the colors jacked up? It's because you didn't place embedded. So now that I place embedded this, there's a chance it could have placed embedded smaller. If you need it larger, you're just going to grab this handle here, and you're going to pull it so that it's a nice big maximum size. If you, for some reason, notice that when you're pulling this open, that it's not doing it proportionally, it's because this little toggle up here is probably not pushed down, and watch what happens. So it shouldn't happen to you, but if that's you and you're going like this and wondering why, it's because of this little button here. So note to self, basically that's why. So now that this is the maximum size, I'm going to finally be able to start coloring. So let's look at those instructions again on the coloring page. So it says we're going to use the brush tool, the eyeglass, the paint tool, and the text. So all we're doing from there is, let's say I wanted to color his mouth, and I'm going to color it like a yellow. I'm going to go down here to the plus, and I'm going to zoom in so I can see and color his mouth. If you guys remember from the tutorial we did in the first week or so, another way is you can drag this in and out with the mouse. If you're using a touchpad, then you can always hit Control and plus. I'm sure you can hear me banging the keys. So those are your options. Like I said, I like to use a mouse, and I like to use the plus and the minus. If you want it to move over, you can hear me hold spacebar and move it over, or you can grab the hand tool and move it over. So now I'm going to start to color his mouth. So I'm going to go and grab a different color. I'm going to grab the brush. This is the brush tool. And right now it has a big X on it because this is not rasterized. That is basically a funny word for you can't work on it because it's not ready. If you click on it, it says, hey, you must rasterize this before proceeding. Hit OK. Now I can do it. And as you can see, I am able to color it with the red. If you find that brush too thick, you go up to your options bar up here, and you look and you move the size down so that you can color it easier. And you're basically using your mouse or your touchpad. And remember, you can Control Z to go back, and you are going to slowly just color over all the pieces. So now let's pretend I already did his whole entire mouth, and I want to do the belly. So I'm going to just go ahead, grab this, and zoom out, because I want to start coloring the belly. Okay, I'm going to color it yellow. So here's the part I don't want you to abuse, but you can use it. If you look behind the gradient tool, so if I hover over, it should tell you what it is, probably because there it is, gradient. And I hold my mouse or the touchpad, and I go to the paint bucket. And I can obviously change the color to whatever I want. If I click here, with wherever the little arrow is, it starts to auto paint. So here's the catch. You're thinking, I know what some of you are thinking, oh, I can just do this for the whole thing. The point of this project is that half of what you color, you should be using the brush tool. And the way I'm going to ask for the export will show me what you did, so I know you didn't just cheat through. Another reason, or another thing that you might want to know, and I'm going to find the area here so that you can see what I'm talking about if this happens to you. Okay. I'm going to purposely create a little situation here. All right, on one of these spikes here, let's pretend, it's a little smaller. Let's pretend there was a little bit of a hole right here. If I try to use this, I'm going to use this color. Let me change a different spike color to like that. And I'm going to use the paint bucket. Watch what with this new color that I chose. All right, did you notice that it grabbed the entirety of this, and I didn't want this to be colored as well, this part right here? What I can do to prevent that is if there's any holes in basically the outline, I would have to grab the brush tool. You can grab whatever color you want. I like the black because I'm trying to create an outline. Draw this over it, and then now if I try, you're going to notice it should color properly. That's how it's separated, because I drew a line here. So that's what I wanted you to see. So like I said, just to recap, all you have to do is go ahead and paint using this tool here, the paint, and also using the brush tool. Okay? And then the last part I want you to do, let's say you're all done, you painted, you have a background in there too, is I'm going to want you to write with the brush tool your name. So if your name is John, you're going to write like this with the brush tool, your name. That's the way I knew you use that. So let's pretend now you're done. You're looking at the whole thing. You're ready to submit it. You go to File. You go to Export. Export as JPEG. Leave it as that nice, beautiful, high quality. It's going to ask you where. The smartest place would be the OneDrive, as always, so you don't lose your stuff. It's already called coloring page, so we know how to find it. You save, and now in Canvas you upload that, and I will grade you based on half of it being, if I take a look at the instructions, I believe I said half of it has to be colored in and half of it can be used with the paint bucket. And that's basically all you're doing. Enjoy.